When we think of jealousy, most people imagine it being obvious, someone throwing shade, making a scene, or outright telling you how they feel. But the truth is, jealousy rarely shows up that way. It's subtle, it's quiet, and it often hides beneath behaviors that can seem almost harmless at first. That's why it's so important to pay attention, because the most dangerous form of jealousy is the one you don't immediately recognize. People who envy you may never say it out loud, but their actions will whisper it every time they're around you. They may smile at you, congratulate you, or even act supportive on the surface, but underneath there's a discomfort that leaks through in small ways. It's in the tone of their voice when they acknowledge your success, the hesitation in their eyes before they clap for you, the forced cheer in their laughter when you're telling your story. These are the details that reveal what words don't. Jealousy thrives in subtlety because most people don't want to admit to themselves or others that they feel it. They disguise it as jokes, they cover it up with sarcasm, or they stay quiet when they should be loud with encouragement. For example, you might notice someone who used to text you often suddenly goes cold after you share good news. They don't confront you, they don't argue with you, but their silence says everything. Or maybe you walk into a room after hitting a milestone and instead of celebrating, they switch the subject quickly to something else. These are not coincidences. They're the little cracks where envy shows through. Another thing about subtle jealousy is how it can show up as comparison. Someone who feels threatened by your progress won't always attack you directly. Instead, they'll bring up their own achievements right after you talk about yours, trying to neutralize your moment without being obvious. It feels like they're constantly measuring themselves against you, but they'll never say that outright. You'll see it in the way they emphasize their own stories, or how they casually slip in details meant to remind you, and themselves, that they're doing just as well, even if they're not. Sometimes jealousy comes out in passive-aggressive remarks that could be brushed off as humor. You might hear things like, "Well, don't get too full of yourself," or "must be nice to have it easy." On the surface, these can sound like harmless comments, but listen closely. The undertone is resentment. It's a way of expressing envy without admitting it. It's subtle enough that if you call it out, they can laugh it off and make you feel like you're overreacting, but deep down you know what it really is. Silence is another subtle form of jealousy that's often overlooked. When you're struggling, jealous people are quick to show up because it reassures them that you're not doing better than they are. But when you're thriving, they vanish. They don't like being confronted with the evidence of your growth. So instead of clapping, they disappear. It doesn't look like jealousy on the surface, but if you pay attention to the timing, it becomes clear. Their absence isn't random, it's deliberate. What makes subtle jealousy so tricky is that it forces you to question yourself. You start wondering if you're imagining things, if you're being too sensitive, if maybe that person really is supportive and you're misreading them. That's exactly why jealous behavior tends to be quiet. It hides in plausible deniability, but trust your instincts. Human beings can sense when energy shifts. If you feel that someone's words don't match their actions, if their support feels hollow or conditional, it's usually because there's something deeper happening beneath the surface. Subtle jealousy often hurts more than obvious jealousy because it comes from people you might care about or trust. Strangers being jealous of you doesn't sting nearly as much as when it's a friend, a coworker, or even a family member who can't genuinely be happy for you. And because they're close, their envy shows up in the smallest gestures. The tone of a message, the lack of eye contact, the sudden change in how often they engage with you. It's not loud, but it's there, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. There's a very thin line between being inspired by someone and being threatened by them, and that line is where jealousy often sits. When people are truly inspired by you, they admire what you do, they learn from it, and sometimes they even borrow a little of your style or your ideas as motivation to grow in their own lives. But when the intention shifts from admiration to insecurity, the copying doesn't feel like respect anymore, it feels like competition. Someone who's jealous of you will start mirroring your moves, but not because they want to celebrate you. They do it because they want to prove they can be you, or even outshine you. This is one of the clearest and most unsettling signs of envy, because it doesn't always look like jealousy at first. It can look like flattery, like someone appreciating what you're doing. But the energy behind it tells a different story. When someone envies you, they study you closely. They watch how you dress, how you talk, the things you buy, the way you work, even the small details of how you carry yourself. Then they start reflecting those things back at you. Suddenly, your style becomes their style, your ideas become their original thoughts, and your achievements become the benchmark they secretly measure themselves against. What makes it jealousy is the intent. They don't want to just learn from you, they want to blur the line between you and them. It's not about inspiration anymore, it's about trying to erase the gap between your success and their insecurity. At first, you might dismiss it. You might think, well, maybe they just like the same things I do, or maybe they're just picking up on good habits. But over time, the pattern reveals itself. The more you grow, the more they copy. The more you create, the more they mimic. And it doesn't come with acknowledgement or credit. It comes with silence, as if your influence on them doesn't exist. That's the jealous energy at work. They want the benefits of what you've figured out without having to give you the recognition for it. Another layer of this unhealthy mirroring is that it often turns into rivalry. You'll notice that instead of celebrating your achievements, they try to match them. You get a new opportunity, suddenly they're chasing one too. You make a change in your life, suddenly they're making the same change. It's like they're always chasing your shadow, but with a competitive undertone. They're not simply joining you on the path, they're racing you on it. And because jealousy is at the root, it's not a healthy competition that pushes both people to grow. It's a bitter, quiet attempt to keep up, so they don't have to feel less than when compared to you. This kind of behavior can drain you if you're not aware of it, because it makes relationships feel strange. Instead of genuine support, you feel like you're in an unspoken contest. Instead of being able to share your progress openly, you start holding back because you know they'll take your wins as a challenge to outdo you. That's when you realize this mirroring isn't admiration at all. It's envy disguised as ambition. Sometimes this kind of jealousy gets so strong that the person begins to rewrite reality. They'll act as though the things they're copying were their ideas first. They might even tell other people, "I've been doing this all along," or "I thought of that before." They can't admit that they followed your lead, because that would mean acknowledging your influence, and jealousy doesn't allow them to give you that validation. Instead, they try to twist the story so they're not the follower, but the originator. It's not just about copying you, it's about competing with you while pretending the competition doesn't exist. The danger in this form of jealousy is that it can make you second guess yourself. You start to wonder if you're overthinking it, if maybe it's normal for someone to adopt so much of your energy and ideas. But deep down, you feel the tension. You feel that what should be admiration has turned into rivalry, and that's where the truth of their jealousy becomes undeniable. One of the most telling signs of jealousy is when people disappear during your wins. Pay close attention to who shows up for you when life is going well, because that's when the truth about people's feelings becomes clear. When you're struggling, it's easy for others to offer sympathy or show concern. That doesn't cost them anything. It doesn't challenge their sense of worth, but when you succeed, when you accomplish something meaningful, when you finally start to shine, that's when jealousy reveals itself. The people who can't stand to see you rise will suddenly go silent. They won't call, they won't text, they won't show up to celebrate. It's not because they're busy, it's because your success forces them to confront their own insecurities, and that's too uncomfortable for them to handle. This absence is often disguised in excuses. They'll tell you they forgot to congratulate you, or that they were too busy to come to your event, or that they didn't see your big news, but you know better. Everyone makes time for the things and people that matter to them. If someone disappears when you're thriving, it's because they can't bring themselves to genuinely celebrate you. Their silence is a form of protest, a quiet way of saying they don't like the fact that you're doing better than them. What makes this so painful is that it often comes from people you thought would be happy for you. A friend you've supported, a coworker you've encouraged, maybe even family members you've always looked up to. When they vanish during your wins, it cuts deeper than jealousy from strangers ever could. Strangers might envy you, but it doesn't sting. When it's people close to you, it makes you question the entire relationship. You start to realize that their loyalty was conditional. They could handle you when you were on their level or even when you were beneath them. But once you moved ahead, the dynamic shifted and they couldn't accept it. Disappearing during your wins isn't just about physical absence either. Sometimes they're around, but emotionally they've checked out. You share your good news and their face doesn't light up. You tell them about your progress and they give you a short, clipped response. They don't ask follow-up questions. They don't show excitement. They change the subject as quickly as possible. It's a subtle form of withdrawal, and it sends the same message. They're not happy about your success, and they don't want to engage with it. This behavior becomes even more obvious when you compare it to how they act during your struggles. Notice how some people suddenly become very attentive when things aren't going well for you. They check in more. They want to hear all the details of your problems. They offer comfort and advice. At first, that might look like kindness, but look closer. For some, your struggles make them feel better about themselves. Your setbacks are proof that you're not beyond their reach. But the moment you rise again, the moment you start winning, they pull away. That contrast between how they treat you when you're down versus when you're up reveals the truth. What's really happening here is that your success creates a mirror for them. It forces them to look at their own lives and measure what they've done, or haven't done, against what you've achieved. Instead of being inspired, they feel exposed. Instead of letting your success push them to grow, they retreat into silence. It's easier for them to withdraw than to face the discomfort of their own envy. The danger in this subtle jealousy is that it can trick you into believing you've done something wrong. You might start to wonder if you're being too loud about your success, if maybe you shouldn't share your wins so openly. But the truth is, your light doesn't create their darkness. Their reaction says more about them than it does about you. When people disappear during your wins, it's not a reflection of your value. It's a reflection of their inability to clap for someone else without feeling smaller themselves. Backhanded compliments are one of the most common and recognizable ways jealousy slips through the cracks. On the surface, they look like praise, but beneath the words there's always a sting. It's a way for someone to acknowledge your achievement or your appearance while still cutting you down at the same time. A jealous person will rarely give you a straightforward, genuine compliment because doing so would mean fully recognizing your success. Instead, they lace it with negativity so that you never get to enjoy the moment without second guessing it. You'll hear things like, "Wow, you actually look good today," or "I didn't think you could pull that off." The first half of the sentence sounds flattering, but the second half undermines it. The message is clear. They don't want to make you feel too confident, so they throw in a reminder that in their eyes, you don't usually measure up. That's how jealousy operates. It wants to keep you from feeling the full weight of your success. Instead of letting you stand tall, it tries to plant doubt in your mind. What makes backhanded compliments so damaging is how subtle they are. If someone insults you directly, it's easy to recognize it for what it is. But when they package it inside what seems like praise, you hesitate to call it out. If you confront them, they can easily say, "I was just giving you a compliment. Why are you being so sensitive?" That's how they get away with it. They hide their jealousy in a way that makes you look like the problem if you notice it. It's manipulation at its core, even if it doesn't always come from a conscious place. Backhanded compliments also reveal the tug-of-war happening inside a jealous person. Part of them wants to acknowledge your growth because they can't completely ignore it. They see that you've achieved something, that you've improved, that you've done something worth noticing. But the other part of them, the insecure part, can't handle celebrating you without taking something away. So they try to balance it out by delivering their words in a way that praises you while simultaneously diminishing you. It's like they are saying, "Yes, you did well, but don't forget where you belong." Over time, you begin to notice the pattern. Genuine people give compliments freely, without hesitation, and without attaching a condition. When they tell you that you look great or that you did an amazing job, you feel their sincerity. But with jealous people, the compliment always has an extra edge. There's always a qualifier, a comparison, or a subtle reminder that in their eyes, you're still not as great as you might think. They might say things like, "That's impressive for someone your age," or "Not bad considering you don't have much experience." On the surface, it's approval. Underneath, it's resentment. The impact of these remarks is deeper than most people realize. When you're constantly met with backhanded compliments, it can chip away at your confidence. You begin to second guess whether you really deserve your success or whether you're being arrogant for believing in yourself. That's exactly what the jealous person wants. They don't want to see you fully confident because your confidence threatens them. They want you to stay small enough that they can feel secure in comparison. Sometimes these backhanded remarks aren't even about you directly. They're comparisons to others meant to dim your shine. You might hear, "That's good, but I know someone who did it better," or "You're doing well, though it's nothing new." The point isn't to celebrate you, it's to remind you that in their eyes, you're not exceptional. Again, that's not about your actual worth, it's about their jealousy speaking through their words. Backhanded compliments are like tiny daggers wrapped in ribbons. They look harmless at first, but once you feel the sting, you realize they were never meant to uplift you. They were meant to bring you back down to a level that makes the other person comfortable. And the more often they do it, the clearer it becomes that their so-called praise is nothing more than envy dressed up as politeness. Gossip is one of the clearest signals that someone is jealous of you, and it's also one of the most destructive. When people can't confront you directly, when they can't admit that your success bothers them, they often resort to whispering behind your back. They spread little stories, half-truths, or exaggerated details designed to make others question you. It's a way of taking the spotlight off your achievements and putting it onto your supposed flaws. What makes gossip such a powerful tool for jealous people is that it allows them to chip away at your reputation without ever facing you head on. They get to release their envy in a way that feels safe, because they can always deny it if confronted. Jealous gossip rarely sounds like outright slander. It's usually wrapped in casual conversation, disguised as concern, or dressed up as a harmless comment. Someone might say, "Yeah, she's doing well, but you know how she really got that job, right?" Or "He looks like he's successful, but trust me, it's not what it seems." These kinds of remarks plant seeds of doubt. They make others second, guess your accomplishments, and over time, those seeds can grow into full, lone misconceptions about who you are. That's the goal of gossip driven by jealousy. It's not about sharing information. It's about undermining the way others see you. What's especially damaging about this behavior is that it often comes from people you thought were on your side. Friends, coworkers, even family members can be guilty of it. Because they're close to you, they know more about your life, and that gives them ammunition. They can take private details and twist them, or they can use their relationship with you to make their gossip sound credible. That betrayal cuts deep because you expect strangers to talk, but when the people within your circle turn your name into casual conversation, it shows just how much jealousy has poisoned the relationship. Another thing about gossip is that it's rarely about the truth. It's about creating a story that makes the jealous person feel better about themselves. If you're succeeding, they need a narrative that explains why you don't really deserve it. Maybe they say you had an unfair advantage, or that you got lucky, or that you're not as talented as people think. The facts don't matter. What matters is that the story takes some of the shine off you, so they don't have to feel so insecure in comparison. It's their way of pulling you down without having to climb higher themselves. If you pay attention, you'll notice gossip often follows a pattern. The same people who are quick to disappear during your wins are the ones most likely to talk about you behind your back. Their silence in public is matched by their noise in private. They can't clap for you out loud, but they can whisper about you in the shadows, and often they'll do it in a way that makes them look innocent. They might start with, "I don't want to say anything but," or "I'm only telling you this because I care." In reality, it's not about care at all, it's about envy disguised as conversation. The danger of gossip is that it doesn't just affect how others see you, it can also affect how you see yourself. If enough rumors circulate, if enough false narratives are spread, you might start to feel the weight of them. Even if you know they aren't true, the knowledge that people are talking can make you question your worth. That's exactly what a jealous person wants. They want to tarnish your shine in the eyes of others, and if possible, in your own eyes too. And yet, gossip says more about the person spreading it than the person it's about. When someone spends their time talking about you instead of focusing on themselves, it's a clear indicator that they feel threatened. They're investing their energy into tearing you down because building themselves up feels too difficult. Jealousy drives them to put your name in their mouth, hoping that if they can control the story, they can control how others view you. Jealousy is almost never about you. It's about the other person and what they feel they lack. When someone envies you, what they're really doing is holding up a mirror to their own insecurities. Your success, your confidence, your progress, those things highlight the gaps in their own life, and instead of addressing those gaps, they turn their discomfort outward onto you. This is why jealousy can feel so confusing. You might wonder, what did I do to make them act this way? But the truth is, you didn't do anything wrong. Their jealousy isn't a reflection of your flaws, it's a reflection of their struggles. When someone is secure in themselves, they can celebrate others without hesitation. They can look at your accomplishments and feel genuinely happy because they don't see it as a threat. But when someone is insecure, every one of your wins feels like a loss for them. It's as if life is a scoreboard in their mind, and your success means they're falling behind. They can't separate your growth from their own worth. So instead of cheering for you, they resent you. That resentment has nothing to do with who you are as a person, and everything to do with how they perceive themselves. This is why jealous people often act in contradictory ways. One moment they might smile at you, and the next moment they withdraw or say something cutting. They're torn between wanting to maintain the relationship and being unable to handle the way your presence makes them feel about themselves. You didn't create that tension. They did. By simply being who you are and pushing yourself forward, You unintentionally shine a light on the areas of their life they've neglected. Instead of using that light as inspiration, they interpret it as judgment. It's important to understand that jealousy is rooted in comparison. The jealous person doesn't just look at you, they measure themselves against you. They ask, why don't I have what they have? Why aren't I where they are? Why can't I do what they're doing? But those questions are never directed inward in a constructive way. Instead of taking responsibility for their own choices, they project the discomfort outward and blame you for making them feel inadequate. It's easier to resent your success than it is to face their own shortcomings. What makes this dynamic so tricky is that jealousy often comes from people you expect support from. A friend, a colleague, even a sibling can feel threatened by you. You may share your good news expecting encouragement, but what you get instead is distance, criticism, or cold silence. It can make you feel guilty for your success, like maybe you're rubbing it in or leaving them behind. But that guilt doesn't belong to you. It belongs to them. Their inability to be happy for you isn't your burden to carry. Another layer of this is that jealous people often twist the narrative so that they don't have to confront their insecurities directly. They'll say things like, "You've changed," or "You're so lucky," as if your progress is about something other than your effort and choices. By framing your success as luck or as some negative transformation, they avoid admitting that what really bothers them is the gap between where they are and where you are. This deflection protects their ego but exposes their envy. At the end of the day, jealousy is a mirror, not a verdict. It doesn't mean you've done anything wrong by succeeding. It doesn't mean you need to shrink yourself to make others comfortable. All it means is that your growth is triggering someone else's insecurities. That truth can help you detach from their behavior. Instead of internalizing it, you can recognize it for what it is, a reflection of their inner battles, not a reflection of your worth. Jealousy is one of those forces that reveals itself in ways we don't always expect, through silence, through gossip, through backhanded remarks, through people disappearing when we shine the brightest. It can feel personal, like an attack on who we are, but the truth is, it's not about us at all. It's about what the other person sees in us that reminds them of what they feel they're missing. Your success, your growth, your confidence, they don't create envy, they expose it. And that exposure can make others uncomfortable. What matters is how you choose to respond. You can't control who claps for you, who celebrates you, or who tries to undermine you. But you can control how much power you give their jealousy. Don't shrink yourself to fit into someone else's comfort zone. Don't second guess your worth because someone else can't handle your light. Remember, no one envies mediocrity. If people are jealous of you, it means you're doing something worth noticing. Take it as confirmation that you're moving in the right direction. Protect your peace, keep your circle intentional, and continue to rise. Let their jealousy be fuel, not a limitation, and never apologize for the success you've earned.